Welcome to this afternoon, Saturday afternoon. It's a presentation for NTP Technology and DAD. We're going to show a little about our live music approach for our products. We call it audio interfaces for live entertainment applications. I'm Michael, and this is Jon.
So essentially what we're going to be doing here is to do a brief little overview of how we use our wonderful products, hardware and software in live music applications. I'm the front of house guy for 90s icons AQUA. So that's what you just saw behind us. Some of you might remember the song from the discos. And we have set up over here a little version of what this system would look like and how small it is these days. It's not like it was back in the days with big mixing consoles, but this is what we have. And we'll show you that later. But right now we are sort of looking at the hardware and what that looks like.
The point here of this presentation is to identify what we call a sidecar. So you will see you have a very simple schematic here of a current mixing console setup. Obviously you will have front of house, monitor mixing, stage racks, whatever. So what we are able to do now is we're able to kind of click on our products into this solution, either being on the stage for stage I/O, either being on the front of house for various I/O for speakers or whatever you have of processing. And certainly, which has been quite successful over the last months, over the summer, our redundant playback system, where you actually can do within one sample a switchover. We'll talk more about that if you have computer failing your playback. So we call it sidecar. So it's a way to add up and beef up your whole live main drive shaft there. So what does this actually do? I mean, this is very familiar for most of you, I'm sure, but obviously you would see, as I said before, we have the head amp, the monitor console, we may have some wireless, we may have the front of house stuff here, and then head amp, redundant playback, recording, show control, all that is manageable via the DADman software. And what is very important, obviously, is the whole infrastructure that we can provide, either Dante, either MADI. We have our DAT link, which is a zero latency connection between any unit in this whole system. So you'll have a total latency of 7 samples, so it's really, really accurate. It's fully 24-bit floating point, it's very, very high resolution, and it really provides the quality of this whole solution and preserves that very, very well. In addition, later this year we will present also an AVB Milan card that will actually tap into this solution as well, mainly obviously for providing interface for speakers that are Milan capable.
Yeah, so essentially what's going on here is the idea of the sidecar is us sort of piggybacking onto a traditional system which would have a couple of consoles, front of house, monitors, maybe broadcast stage boxes. In this particular version of it, some of the modern features that we use in live sound have become more dominant over the years. Things like playback, things that like using plugins in a live situation that has in the past been within the realm of just having a dedicated DSP system, but now with more and more people wanting to use low latency VST plugins, for example, we are now providing them a way to get from their systems into our systems and utilizing the extremely fast Thunderbolt connections to computers. So you can use the computers to create things like plug-in processing, auto-tune, you can even use it for playback systems. All things we'll show you over here. So that's the sidecar part of it. In the system we have over here, we're essentially also not just on the side, but we are the center spine of it. But I can show you that later. The idea here is that we can piggyback onto any particular system. One of the things we use for that is a new software that we launched at NAMM, which is called Control Pack. Control Pack is essentially a way of switching anywhere from 1 to 256 channels between 4 predefined buckets into 1 predefined output. That might sound a little bit weird, but if you look at it as a playback system where someone has, like in the case of AQUA, 70 channels coming from Ableton Live. If that computer running that suddenly decides to stop because someone pours coffee in it, we need a way to make sure that something else takes over. Our system will do that. And sort of compared to some of our frenemies and competitors, we are not just switching between A and B, we can actually switch 4 buckets of up to 256 channels. That makes us tremendously flexible in this case, which is just a basic AB system, being able to see if one computer fails, it will switch to the other one, it will switch via that onto the DAT-link network, which we'll talk about later, and it will happen within one sample. So it very, very powerful, very, very flexible, and very easy to set up, which I will show you later. So this is what it looks like. Essentially, you'll see over the side here, you'll see where it says AXN Live. I have 2 different completely redundant Pro Tools sessions coming in. And if at some point I had a problem with one of them, it's not going to do that now because we didn't have any problems. This is live. It will switch between the 2. Anyone who's on the other side of the speakers will never know the difference. Anyone who's on stage will never know the difference. I will know the difference because I know that it switched, but the show goes on. On top of that, we also have the ability, because we can switch more than just a lot of channels, we can also just choose one channel. So for all of the people on stage that are vocalists, I have 2 inputs from them. In the case of Lena and Renee, the 2 main people, I have a auto-tuned version of their songs, of them singing, because that's what we do these days, and I have a clean. So I have a system on the backtracks that just sends me a pilot tone when they're supposed to sing. So what happens is that one channel switches automatically from my tuned input to my clean input and back whenever it needs to do so. That makes it tremendously powerful. I don't have to remember to take off the auto-tune when they're talking. The system takes care of that. You'll see that happening automatically on this side of the stage, and that cleans up the sound on stage for tune, for the backing track people, for the backing vocals. It switches between them being active and not active. So when they're not singing and just dancing around, the microphones are not going. Right? It's just quiet. That's what we do. Essentially, that is how we use the system in live processing. Everything that happens here happens without any OSC, without any MIDI. It all happens because we have predefined it to do so.
Yeah, and one other thing, it can be very small and can be very compact. So much of this is actually very well suited for fly racks and for traveling as well. And that's one of the motivations for defining the so-called sidecar, because very often artists will actually bring much of this because it's very critical infrastructure, even for the playback solution, and just connect to whatever live setup you have on the actual venue where you go. Thank you for listening in for this short opening presentation, and I encourage you to go over to the demo place there, and Jon will tell you a little more in depth of how everything works.